His mic is off. There we go.
Not anymore.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Not much. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
Yeah, I caught your email late, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's okay. I got a call this morning from a buddy who just got an elk in the bush, and he's waiting for my help.
That's so typical of someone like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Which I was sad that we didn't get to see more of your hunting skills on season 10 because I didn't realize you're actually kind of almost more of a hunter than a fisherman. Is that correct?
It's pretty even. It's pretty even. Those are my two big passions: hunting and fishing. What's that noise?
What
Did you
is
hear
that?
that?
Yeah, I do hear that.
Sounds like a phone.
I have never heard that noise before.
iPad.
It sounds like, dude, the attack's coming, man. Run.
That's it. This is how we go.
I guess it's my wife's phone. She forgot it. She went to work, but she forgot her phone.
She's probably calling you to tell you she forgot her phone from somebody else's phone.
Well, no, be calling her phone, though. That wouldn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah, she's calling her own phone. Maybe she can't find it, so she's calling it to see if she left it in,
Right.
you know.
I like the elephant picture there in the background.
I do, too.
That's cool.
With all the butterflies? Is that butterflies? Looks like butterflies.
I'm good. She's just got a really weird ringtone.
That's what I was thinking.
It looks
That's
like, what's the story of that? Is that picture behind you have any significance, or you're just sitting in front of it for this?
My wife got it from a friend quite recently. No, it has no significance to me, but she just really likes it.
It's cool.
It is cool.
So you guys are in the Cayman Islands right now?
We are.
We are, yep.
You're in between Jamaica, Cuba.
And Cuba. You got it.
And a lot of water. And
about 1 hour flight from Miami.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're in Grand Cayman, which is the biggest of the three islands.
But it's
you
gorgeous.
say it like that, Cayman?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
It is. The locals say, if you say the Caymans, they'll strangle. Well, they won't strangle you, but they'll laugh at you. They'll know you're not a local.
You've got about a 2-week grace period, and then they'll go progress to strangling after that.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's Grand Cayman, yeah.
You need to come visit. It's beautiful down here. The water's gorgeous. Yeah, everything is. I would assume you scuba dive if you're into this kind of stuff, right?
I have, but I'm more of a snorkeler.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
beautiful. One of the best places in the world for that is down here.
So Tim's originally from Ohio, so he knows.
I've been all over the
You're
world,
originally from Alberta.
I
You're
know.
in
I'm
Alberta,
from
sure.
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yep.
So actually, that's what interested me about this season of Alone was that it takes place up in Reindeer Lake in northern Saskatchewan, which was where my dad was raised up in northern Saskatchewan, and it kind of straddles the border of Manitoba as well.
Yeah.
So, but you're way up north. I mean, I think Winnipeg is up north. I mean, if you look at a map, Reindeer Lake, way up north.
Yeah.
Was that the furthest north you'd ever been?
No, I lived in Fort Nelson, British Columbia, which is very close to the border, BC. It's pretty close. I'd have to look on a map specifically, but no. And I also hunted in Watson Lake before once too, which is I think that's even further north.
Okay. So I had read somewhere that you had said that Alone was the only survival show you would ever want to compete in or be a part of. Now, why is that?
Did I say that?
I think I saw it on a podcast or on a interview somewhere, or is that untrue then?
No. I think it's true. I just don't remember saying that. There's been quite a few radio interviews and podcasts in the last year and a half or so, so I'm probably losing track of what I said. But I probably did say that. I totally believe you. Why would it be the only survival show I'd want to participate in? Probably because it's the most authentic and it's real. Like there's nothing fake about it. And I don't know. I'd probably do better by myself than in a group setting, like something like Survivor, where you got to play all those weird mind games. It's like the only one you have to depend on out there is you.
Yeah, it's no
There's no one
politics.
else.
Yeah, no politics, no drama.
And that's what I like about it. If you don't succeed or you don't do well, you've only got yourself to blame, nothing else, right? So I like that aspect of it, and that it's real, and it really tests your skills, and it's not only your survival skills. We've seen so many times in past seasons, the mental fortitude of the contestants means so much. And do you guys watch season 11?
No, is it out already?
Oh my God, it's so good.
Really?
Yeah, I won't say anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Please don't. You know, full disclosure, we were just, my husband was looking for something to watch on Netflix, and episode 10 Alone popped up. And I came in and he said, we have to watch this. This is our show. And we binged it. So
nice.
Actually, your season is the very first season that I've ever watched of Alone. Then I start talking to people and they're like, yeah, you haven't watched it? And they like know all the, you know, the different people that have won in the past seasons, all the different places, because it's shot from everywhere from like the rainforest to the Arctic Circle and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
What motivated you in the first place to even undertake something like this? I mean, you're talking about obviously choosing between shows. You don't want to work with a bunch of people. You'd rather be alone. But what compels you to go through something that you know is going to be arduous, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be possibly painful, maybe even deadly? It's a big risk. I mean, is this just, you know, what happened in your past to make you want to do something like this? Because that's the question I'd ask myself, you know?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I know the answer to that. I'll tell you how it kind of started. I was a high school teacher, and I teach outdoor education as one of my subjects, along with English and social studies, a couple of physical education classes. And every year when I'm teaching outdoor ed, we do a carving unit, like knife skills, how to properly use, you know, a bushcraft carving knife safely. And as a project to teach them, we make this big walking stick. And they can take it home at the end of the year. And we use all their carving techniques they practice on this walking stick. It's just a 2x2 piece of spruce. They get to the hardware store and they work on it and they love it. And we used to do that every Friday, right? Because, you know, kids would come in late. Sometimes kids don't attend on Friday. So it's just a good carving day. You turn the lights down a little low, not too low or they'll cut themselves.
Right.
And, and I put on old episodes of Alone on the screen as we're carving in the classroom. And the kids started saying, Mr. Tenta, we're doing a lot of these skills. Like, you know how to do that. Like, they're building shelters. We had just built shelters. They're doing fire lighting techniques with a ferro rod or a bow and drill. You know, we teach that. I know, tarp shelters, trapping small game, all those things that we do. They're like, you should apply for that show, Mr. Tenta. You'd probably do pretty good. Blah, blah. And I said, no, why do I want to start? Blah, blah, blah. And this went on for 2 years, maybe 3 years. Kids kept saying. So I just fired in a little email. Somebody sent me a casting call was on Facebook. Oh, Alone season 10, looking for contestants.
Right.
And I got the address. It was literally like 3 sentences: my age, where I'm from, what I do. It was just a little blurb. Just sent it in, and it all went from there.
Wow.
And then it came back to a large. I think everyone who sends that email gets the larger form. Unless they think you're crazy right away, then they don't send it to you. But
right.
It literally took me a Saturday to fill out. Like, it was probably 5 or 6 pages, really detailed form. I sent that in. I hear back a couple of days later, like, can you send in some pictures? Send in some pictures. Then I got a call from an email from one of the casting director. What are they called? Casting producers? I can't remember what they're called. Anyways, the people that scout participants for the show.
Casting scouts, I think I've heard. That's the term I've heard.
Yeah. And she wanted to talk to me for an hour. So she called me on the phone and she realized that I wasn't crazy. So she wanted to, then we had a Zoom call just like this for an hour. Then I had to make videos of showing off my skills. And this went on for months.
Yeah, they showed some of the videos in season 10.
Yeah, totally. Those are just with my iPhone that I filmed out.
Building shelters and like skinning, you know, game that you've caught and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then out of, I think there was 43,000 applicants that year.
Wow.
And then they narrow it down to the final 24 and you have like a 4 or 5 day boot camp and this, because of COVID, it was all on Zoom like this, which was kind of weird. It's usually in person, but they couldn't do it because of COVID.
Well, how long ago was that? Well, when was this process happening?
22.
22. Okay.
Yeah. And it aired in 2023.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And that happened, and then you got to wait again. So the boot camp went pretty well. Like you're interviewed by the producers. You have to show. You have all these tests like survival skills. You have to show a survival skill. You know.
Right.
And you got to bring your camera outside, and there's people watching. There's that noise again. Somebody really wants to get a hold of my wife.
Somebody's just watching us, man. We're connected through Zoom.
Yeah.
The eyes are on us.
And then you wait again, You have intelligence tests, psych evaluations, all these things. And then I got the call, I think it was on July or August 1st. July 1st, I got the call that I'd made the show. It was pretty exciting. So I don't know. I guess it was just, I like challenges.
You
Back
got the call on Canada Day? How appropriate.
Maybe it wasn't July 1st. I can't remember. I used to know this really well. Maybe it was, I was driving back from somewhere. Maybe it wasn't July 1st. I can't. It was in the summer though.
The first time you applied, did you already decide that you were going to say yes if you got selected, or was it I'm going to apply. I'm going to apply. This looks dangerous. I'm going to decide. I'm just going to see if they'll even talk to me first, then I'll figure it out.
No, I didn't. It was just I threw in an application. I never thought I'd even be considered. Like, I still don't know why they picked me. I have no idea.
Well, you won. Obviously, they knew what was happening.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly who they're looking for. I think I might have been, they probably select a few really like survival people, a few hunter fishermen, a few foragers, a few average Joes. I don't know. Maybe I was the average Joe, the high school teacher, average Joe guy. There had only been one teacher on it before, I think.
Well, I really enjoyed the cast that they chose for season 10. I think it was a really nice rounded mix of people. Yeah. I was really excited to see 2 Canadians in the mix. I know it's an American show, but as a Canadian and it being filmed in Canada that season, I kind of had a hunch that a Canadian would take it. Not only first place, but second place, also a Canadian. So actually, I loved all the characters, but I have to admit that me and my husband were rooting for you. And mainly because of your optimism. Mm-hmm. The way you looked at even the darkest days, you still found a way to laugh or smile, even at the smallest things. Even when you're talking about your food fantasies at the end, you're like, if you have a bag of Doritos right now, I might tackle you, like telling the camera guy.
I said your lives would be in danger. I said, if you guys have a bag of Doritos right now, your lives would be in danger. I'm serious. And then my wife tapped me on the shoulder. It was pretty crazy.
And that was right at the end. He didn't even know. So you don't know when you've won.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else calls and taps out. So did you have a hunch that you got to have been one of the last few left at that point?
Yeah, I had a good idea that there wasn't very many people left because it was so freaking miserable.
And
it was
cold and 66 days in. I mean, the average person, some people tapped out at day 18 in that.
Yeah.
It might be day 5 for me. I don't know how long I could last in some of those conditions. What was it?
Fun fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fun fact. Season 10 actually holds a record for going the longest amount of time before anybody taps out at 18 or 19 days.
Oh, wow. Really?
Usually there's 1 or 2 really early taps.
Yeah, someone tapped out in like the first day in the first couple of hours in another season. I think 3 hours in or something I'd read. Yeah.
What was the darkest or most challenging period of the whole thing for you? Like either physically, mentally especially, because that's often the toughest part.
From day 50 onwards, the lake was frozen. It got really cold. The nights were long, and there wasn't really too much to do because, the small game had disappeared. The lake was freezing around the edges, and you couldn't fish anymore. But it wasn't thick enough to go out onto ice fish yet, right? So you can't fish. You're basically just getting firewood for the day. Maybe, the things to do. It was really hard.
Boredom must have got to you.
It was starting to at the end, just so much time in the shelter. Like one day, I think I spent 18 hours in the shelter. I wasn't sleeping well at night anymore. I'd lost, 70 plus pounds at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I wasn't sleeping well because I was so bony and laying on my hard bed. I had a hard time getting comfortable. And, because it took me so long to get to sleep at night, my schedule started to reverse. So I wouldn't get to sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. Then I'd sleep into the day, and you had to wake up and check in to make sure you weren't dead.
Right.
But the hardest part of the whole experience definitely was the cold, just dealing with the cold.
So cold over hunger and loneliness.
Yeah. Cold was way worse. Hunger?
That's why I thought a Canadian was going to win, because us Canadians know cold. Doesn't matter where you grew up in Canada. You've experienced cold like no other.
The hunger, I got to say, yes, I was hungry. I had food fantasies and I wanted to eat more, but it's amazing how your body adjusts to it. And it wasn't my most miserable experience of there being hungry. Yes, I was hungry and uncomfortable, but you definitely got used to it. And, I was eating half a fish each day, and I felt like when I ate a half a lake trout, I felt pretty good after. Then I drink the broth, and I felt good.
Yeah, if you're getting a little, I've gone through fasting periods myself. If you're getting a little food every day, you really do adjust. After a while, it's actually an energy kick too. It's weird how that works.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in your position, what you were doing with those last few days, and I would just be thinking, okay, I'm taking this literally 1 hour at a time. I'm going to see how I feel next hour. And you can always tap out, of course, if you want.
Exactly.
That's in your back pocket. It's like having your medication with you if you need it. You know what I mean? You can just tap out.
That's exactly how I did it. It's like, okay, I know we're near the end, and I kept saying to myself, this is short term. This is going to be over soon. Mm-hmm. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I know that there might be one left, there might be two left, but they could tap out any second, any minute, any hour. So it's just take it one day at a time. This will be over soon.
Right.
Keep pushing. I had to talk to myself that all the time. Like I was like, one night I woke up and I was really uncomfortable. I was cold. I was miserable. And I've got this mummy sleeping bag that made me feel really claustrophobic, but I had to have it like zipped up around my head. I'm a pretty big person, so I couldn't move around very much in it. Mm-hmm. And I was so frustrated, so uncomfortable, and I was swearing, F this. Oh, I hate this. I want to go home. I had a big bitch and moan session in the pitch dark in my teepee and -20, whatever it was. And then I was like Gollum on Lord of the Rings. My other voice came out. It was like, you know how Gollum has two personas. And first I was the evil Gollum. This sucks. Then the other side of my brain said, quit being such a wuss, man. Suck it up. What are you doing? You wanted to go here.
Yeah.
Suck it up. It'll be over soon. You're fine. Just go back to sleep, get through this moment and keep grinding. So I called them my Gollum moments all the time. Mm-hmm. My two voices talking to myself, fighting in my head. And I'd have to try to keep the positive side.
I suppose
winning, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose too. At the end of the day, it is somewhat of a controlled environment, even though you are in the elements. But there's still ways to tap out of how the show goes down.
It's called Alone because you controlled all the cameras, all the footage. There are no camera people around at all.
You can tap out though.
You can tap out with there's a phone, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all. A lot of people don't understand that there's no camera crews there. Like it's all self-filmed. We have two GoPros and a big camera. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like the size of a loaf of bread. Excuse me. And there are two game cameras, motion-activated cameras outside your shelter, in case an animal walks by at night. Because
they caught some cool footage. What if a grizzly is
walking around your shelter when you're asleep, right? Like they don't want to miss that footage.
Yeah.
Or a moose. I mean, they got it in a season. A guy named Amos, he had wolves walking around the shelter, and they got that all on camera. Sometimes a moose walks by, a bear walks by, or if your shelter catches on fire, you're not going to be filming it, but the motion cameras will film it, right?
Right.
So, but there's no other cameras. Like there's no hidden cameras in the trees. Like some people have thought that there's cameras everywhere. It's like what's that show? Hunger Games, has all these filmed, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
Now, was there ever, because you're setting up the cameras and stuff for each day when you're fishing or hunting or doing all this stuff, you got your body cam on kind of thing. Is there any moments that didn't get caught because you didn't have your camera going that you wished had shown on the show, or maybe ones that they just edited out that you're like, this was a great moment. Why didn't they show this?
Lots, because they want us to film 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And you just think how 66 days, 8 hours a day. And there might have only been 4 hours of footage of me, not even, out of all those hours. So imagine, and some of the stuff they picked, I'm like, wonder why they, like my very first scene was me, I was 260 pounds and I was wearing my skin tight yellow underpants. That's my very first scene, swimming. I'm like, why would they show that? Because I guess it was funny.
Well, no, they want to show the body transformation too as you go on. And I'm sure that's
probably it too, right? I'm like, why would they show that? It's like, and I caught a fish on my first day with another big fish in its mouth, and they didn't. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
and
super
they didn't
cool.
show it. Yeah.
Well, you got it for your social media now later.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any of my clips. I don't have it.
Really?
That would be in possession of them.
I guess. Man, that's too
no,
bad.
they take all our SD cards and stuff like that. I don't have any of my footage. And the other one was my bad. One night I was plucking a grouse that I got with my longbow sitting by the shore. It was dusk, and I had my camera going, and a family of otters swam right in front of me, and they didn't see me there. I was holding still, and I turned the camera, and they saw the movement, and one of them like reared out of the water, like swimming with his tail, was looking at me, and was making all these weird noises, like it was it was a really cool scene. And they swam. I went, oh, what an awesome shot! And I forgot to turn my camera on.
Oh man!
Do you feel like you making that sound there of the otter? Do you feel like you ever started to go crazy at points?
No,
like you're talking to yourself or hearing things that you don't normally hear in your head or anything like that?
No.
You
Not
kept
really.
it together well. Now, do you keep in contact with any of the other cast members from season 10?
I do. Almost all of them. We if you look at my YouTube channel, just this summer, it must have been in May, end of May, we all met at Cade's house. Remember Cade, the cowboy?
Yes.
Yeah, we all went down to his house and we went camping and fishing. 7 of us went. 7 of the 10 made it down there.
So
that's awesome.
I text with Wyatt most days on WhatsApp. We call each other from time to time. We stay in pretty good
Also,
contact.
one of my favorite cast members. I loved Wyatt.
Well,
He's
it's
great.
Wyatt, yeah.
He's so great.
I'm curious though, like how much time would you have spent with all those people? When would you have got to know them the most? Because obviously you wouldn't have seen them on the show, but
that is an excellent question, young man.
Yeah.
So before we launched, we all met in Saskatoon.
Okay.
First, we stayed in a big hotel together. We had to get our Saskatchewan hunting licenses. We had to take the course. We all had to take the Saskatchewan trapping course together. We met with the biologists. We had all these health checks. So we stayed in the hotel. We hung out like for 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 days in Saskatoon together. We're all in the same hotel. So that's how we got to know each other. And we got to know each other during boot camp too, right? Like we're seeing each other on the screen. We talked for like 5 days. And then we went to like base camp. It was a fly-in fishing lodge.
Right.
The show rented for like 3 and 4 months, whatever it was. And we spent, I think, 8 or 9 days there for camera training, bear training, safety training, all that stuff. Mostly camera stuff.
Yeah, and in those kind of situations too, it's condensed time, and you're so focused on one thing, and you're spending so much time with those people during those days that it's like spending 6 months in another situation.
I would have been eyeing up my competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there anyone that you thought was your biggest?
Everybody was.
Biggest. Who did you think were your biggest competitors at that point?
Well, I shot bows with Cade quite a bit. And Cade was a really good shot with his bow, and he's a big game hunting guy. Like
right.
That's what he does for a living. Like, okay, this guy can shoot, and he's a hunter. You know, if there's a good chance he could get big game. Mm-hmm. And I knew Wyatt was a big fisherman, and I knew if I could catch fish, he could catch fish. So the species of that lake are what he grew up fishing for his whole life. So I thought Wyatt, Cade. And I was just sizing everybody up. And, you know, I was like, who had young kids?
I thought Lee Ray was actually going to go a lot further than he did because, you know, he's from Alaska, so he's used to the colder weather. You know, he grew up doing a lot of the things and living in very similar places to where you guys were.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess
a lot of people did, yeah.
It goes down to strategy, though. My dad's an avid watcher of the show, and we grew up, in the middle of nowhere. He built a cabin, same kind of wilderness survival skills he taught us from the time we were kids. And he said it's all about strategy. He feels like a lot of people spend way too much time on building their shelter, and then they never get to live in it because then they use up all their energy. So I guess strategy is a tough one.
It's a common thing that happens in the show. Spending a lot of time on your shelter, and I knew that, and I didn't want to make that mistake, and I knew that, you can have the best shelter in the world, but unless you have food, you're not going to make it. Right? You're not going to make it unless you're Juan Pablo. Juan Pablo kind of went against all other seasons, and he was very smart in his strategy. He won season 9, another Canadian. He gained 65 pounds before the show, and he was skilled. He was quite an outdoorsman, but he conserved energy. He barely had fires. And he fasted. I think he fasted for 2 weeks and just kind of waited everybody out. And he left the show healthy, and it was 70 something days. And yeah, he played the game very strategically and was able to pull out a win through not procuring a huge amount of food.
Well, don't sell yourself short, because you played a great strategy as well, and it caused you to win.
Yeah,
season 10, which now I've got to go back and watch all the other seasons. I'm obsessed with the show.
Too. I need to see a lot more of it, to be honest.
It's now streaming on Netflix. At least season 10 is.
I'm thinking too, like what my strategy would be, and for me, it would be personally, and I think it would probably apply to everybody. It would be all about the mental aspect, and getting myself in the right mental space before you go into it. Because you were talking about a couple of the people you thought would do well, because they're from Canada or certain areas. But if your head's not in the game, and that can mean anything, if you're not setting yourself up right to combat the anxiety right off the bat, it's going to take you over. It's the same. It's similar philosophies in a lot of things, even doing a radio show. But like you got to get your head in the right place first, and then the physical, I think, would even be second to where your head's at.
Yeah, you see it every year, just how important the mental game is, and how people tap out with a good shelter and good food and are healthy, but just they're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another advantage I had too was like things were good for me at home. Like my kids are grown up, right? And I wasn't worried about them. They were used to not having me around. They were either in university.
You think, what happens if I keel out? Are my kids gonna be right? Good. I guess you got to think like that. You never know, but yeah.
Well, just like Mikey, he really struggled because, he was there during his son's birthday, and that really ate him up inside. And, you know, and a lot of people just get lonely. Yeah. And that's what does them in. I can see loneliness
I think
is a tough.
Preparing for the physical challenge of getting your body in the right shape, knowing, having enough skills to build a variety of shelters, fishing skills, hunting skills, trapping skills. That's all very important. But, just as important, I'm not saying more important, because you won't be able to do well there unless you can, shelter and food is also super important, but the mental aspect is very important as well. Just being able to grind and having a lot of mental fortitude to not give up and keep pushing through.
Maybe it's a basic question to ask in light of that, but how has it changed you since you left? I mean, how has it impacted your daily life with your mental outlook? Do you see things differently, or has it impacted?
No, I don't think you could talk to my friends and my family. I haven't really changed too much. But what the biggest takeaway from that show, my experience out there, was we have so much more than we need.
Right.
And that I didn't miss any material items when I was out there. What I missed, friends, your family, and an idea of home. You know what I mean? Right. It doesn't have to be this home, but a place where I can, hang my hat and relax and be safe. But I didn't miss anything material. At all? Like nothing.
Unfortunately,
not even a hot shower.
Well, that's not material. But yeah, of course, I missed the comforts.
Yes,
I did miss the comfort, but those aren't really. I guess they're attached to material, like a couch or whatever. But
I know what you mean. Like, I know what you mean.
I do know.
I didn't miss my.
And that's a great takeaway.
Yeah, I didn't miss my truck or my dirt bike or whatever.
Fancy clothes or anything like that.
No,
exactly.
I didn't care about clothes before that either. But it really makes you feel. Really makes you take a step back and realize what's important, and that's your friends and family, and love, and relationships. In my situation, it was a survival situation, but it wasn't. I had a button. I could tap.
Right,
I could
exactly.
tap out anytime I want. And I always thought, like, even my dad and my grandpa, who are immigrants, and they went through tough times. They didn't have tap out buttons. There's so many people in the world that don't have tap out buttons, and so I always thought of that, like, this is yes, I've got myself in a situation, but there's a safety door right there that I can just hit this anytime, and the helicopter, the boat will come and take me out. So it was real, but at the same time,
that makes all the difference. Knowing you can tap out makes every bit of difference.
Yeah, you had the golden parachute if you wanted it.
Right.
Yeah. But at the same time, there is an element of risk. Like sometimes they couldn't get to us once for 3 days. Right. So if you did get attacked by a grizzly bear or break your leg or fall through the ice, if there's a storm, they're not going to risk their crew's life. They can't crash the helicopter coming to save you. They can't, go through 4-foot waves for 45 minutes to come and get you in the middle of the night. You can't do that. So there is an element of risk when you're out there. Like one night when it got really cold, I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't know it would get cold so fast, and my sleeping bag wasn't the best. That's one of my items I screwed up on. I bought a shitty sleeping bag. Sorry, you can edit that out.
No, that's fine.
We don't care.
But one night I woke up and I was shivering so convulsively. I was so cold and I could not warm up. And at one moment there, I was worried that I was going to die from hypothermia.
Yeah, which is.
But I shivered through the night
quickly.
and made it through. And I never made that mistake again. I used hot rocks that I'd heat up before I went to bed to keep me warm. They never showed any of that. And then I'd have another fire ready to go in the middle of the night. Because those hot rocks would last about 3 hours, and I'd heat them up again at about 3 a.m, and that would get me through until the morning. And I did that every day for like 16 days, 16 nights.
You had a spa in there, hot stone massage. People pay big
Trust
money
me,
for that,
It was just enough to get it through. I put one on my chest, one on my groin, and one at my feet, and that would keep me warm.
Did you run into any bears or any animal encounters that were particularly scary?
I wish.
Yeah, nothing.
They all wanted to catch big game, and there was no big game to be found.
Interesting.
Yeah, we had bear tags. We were allowed to shoot bear and moose, and quite a lot of small game too. I had a couple opportunities at ducks with my bow. I caught a duck in my gill net, but I had to let it go because you're not allowed to catch against hunting regulations. You can't use nets. But no, there was old bear sign I found, but all the berries were gone at my site. So
right.
No, I really, really wanted a bear encounter because they're small enough to handle. And even if it had been warm, I think I would have had a good chance of preserving and smoking all the meat before it spoiled. But, a 1,500-pound moose, if it was warm when I got it, that would be tough to deal with without losing any of the meat. You know what I mean?
Would think a lot of it might rot if you're not smoking it
You'd
properly.
have to be quick, and you'd have to be lucky with the weather. You'd have to be, there's a lot of variables. Did it die quickly and close to your camp, or did it travel 4 miles up the mountain before it died? Or so it's a lot of variables. I think a bear would have been perfect, like a 250-pound bear, 300.
That would have lasted you the whole show.
Well, and they have lots of fat on them too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one last question, because this is something I was thinking is watching, because you're all on your own. You all got your own little island up there at Reindeer. Like, do you feel, now obviously they try to scout out the islands and make them fair, that each island has the same resources as the other ones. Do you feel like some of the islands might have had more resources than others, or people had a better chance just based on where their island was situated?
I'd like to answer that, but I can't because I never saw any of their sites.
Right. Because some people said they couldn't catch fish to save their life. They tried every day, and I'm thinking, you and Wyatt were catching fish constantly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a skill thing, where you were situated, just the luck of the land.
Yeah, there is definitely a factor of luck in the land for sure. Like, for example, Anne had a big bull moose hanging around her site for days. Like, she here in the bushes, and they showed it. Luke had bears on his, and a huge patch of blueberries. You
didn't have any blueberries on yours?
I had no, they were gone. I had a few low bush cranberries, but I didn't have any. Maybe I saw one small handful of blueberries, and maybe I probably ate 5 cups of. That's why you didn't have any bears on your island. If it was full of blueberry trees, you would have had bears. Yeah, I just didn't have a lot of exposed rock. Like, they seem to like some exposure from the sun. So I didn't have a lot of berries, unfortunately. But I had other good stuff. I had a decent fishing rock. I caught fish from 3 different places on my spot. So it's hard for me to answer that because I don't know if they had a deep spot, or I'm sure they if they were able to catch fish, I mean, they probably would have. I really don't know. I really screwed up that answer. Cut that out. I just think there are pros and cons of every island, because you showed 100%. Some people's that looks like they had more places to shelter that were away from the wind. Other people were more exposed. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of everything. You can't. Yeah. All islands aren't created equal. So. Yeah. Totally. And I'm sure there's some had advantages, some had disadvantages, and that's probably the luck in the draw in that as well. Yeah.
We're talking with Alan Tenta, who won season 10 of the TV show Alone, and you won $500,000 for taking first prize. Is that right?
That's American too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your plans from here? What do you want to do next? Do you want to do more shows, or what do you want to do with your future?
Retired from teaching.
Uh-huh.
I put in a solid 28 years, So I'm substitute teaching here and there. I'm actually teaching on Thursday just to keep the connection with the kids and stuff. But I'm starting a motivational public speaking career.
Oh, nice.
Like doing keynotes for events on resilience and how passion played an important role in my life. Kind of tell my story out there, and I'm allowed to use quite a few of the clips from the show to. So I kind of talk about experience, show a clip, and then I'll give kind of a little gift back to the audience that they can relate to their life with the experience that I made. I do a talk called Unplugged in schools, which is how people in general are starting to lose their connection of nature. And I talk about the importance of maintaining your connection with the outdoors and the positive impacts it can have on your life, and tell stories. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a good little adrenaline rush. And I have another one about resilience that I did a keynote at an event close by here. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to have you come down to Cayman. We do a lot of bring in a lot of guest speakers here at Compass Media. So
yeah, it'd be great.
If you're game,
be great to have you on island.
Yeah.
And you'll snorkeling too in some of these waters.
I just got a text from my buddy. I feel bad. He's got the elk loaded on the trailer.
Oh yeah, we'll let you go because my brother's an elk hunter, so I get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
no worries.
Well, Alan, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it very much.
Hey,
Take the time.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Nice chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
I hope I answered all your questions okay.
Yes, and more. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, take care,
All
man.
right.
Take care. Enjoy your day.
See you guys.
See ya.